Hey, welcome back to Fake Deep Dick, a group of friends sitting down talking about news, culture, and even politics. We got John,
So,
Doc,
Yo,
Ian in the figurative back,
What up?
and myself, Eugene. All right, so today's topics we got for y'all are basically just a bunch of stuff and us talking smack and making fun of stuff. We have men overrunning the women's tech fair, and Ron DeSantis apparently wearing some high heels.
what?
So let's go with the Ron DeSantis first, because I gotta defend my short king here. So I don't really want to read this entire thing. It's just a reference, so y'all can see like this is an actual thing people are talking about, and I guess poking fun at Ron DeSantis. If anything, Ian, just scroll down to I think all the pictures and videos. We'll go through the pictures and videos instead. So quick rundown. So Ron DeSantis, if y'all don't know who Ron DeSantis is, he is the governor of Florida, and he is currently, well, not y'all. I'm obviously talking about what the audience, but he is the governor of Florida, and he's running for president for 2024. And since then, it has been a large wave of, I guess, hit pieces coming after him, and the one that's, it seems to me, I could be wrong, that's landed the most is whether or not he's wearing high heel boots. And we're about to look at these videos and pictures, and I'm about to see if we all agree that Ron DeSantis is rocking some high heel boot.
Dude, that TikTok's hilarious. It
What
immediately
TikTok?
cuts to well, it shows his shoes and then it immediately cuts to I forgot what they're called, but it's like the elevation, the shoes that like I guess elevate girls.
Oh, okay.
It's not
Platform
heels,
shoes.
platforms. Yeah, it cuts to the platforms and they look the same.
I guess let's watch that TikTok then, because that's kind of funny. Go ahead and play the TikTok, Ian. You don't have to do the video because I think we have, or the sound because it's like copyright stuff. So, and they have it at the bottom too. We'll get to, but there is a video of him actually walking in the boots, which honestly I think is the most egregious evidence to the case that he actually might be wearing heels.
Well, let's see it.
So first, let's go down to the first picture right there at the podium.
It's very
So
incriminating.
So in that picture, real quick, Ian, in that picture, him at the podium, they just look like regular boots to me in this one.
Yeah,
I don't
I mean
notice anything.
boots give like a good 2 inches.
Depending on the boots, some boots have a higher heel. Some have like a standard heel. I'm gonna be fully transparent. One of the reasons why I first bought my boots was because they did make me feel a little bit taller, and I rock them for that reason and that reason only.
I got them too for a similar reason, but I hate it wearing like the leather like all the way up towards like just below the knee. You know what I'm talking about? So I ended up finding different boots. And
How
it's like,
high were your boots? What do you mean right below the knee? How high were your boots?
well, that might be an exaggeration then, but it's like that midpoint on the shin where they usually
Yeah,
get to.
it like rubs against your calf or somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
I hate that, man, and I would get irritated, and so like my skin would get really like tender there, and I would just end up having like pain than actual like I guess joy wearing boots like that. So I just stopped wearing those kinds of boots.
That's why you got to wear long socks. I wear socks that go all the way up my calf for that reason.
I mean, I get it, and I get that they're like Texas boots, but at the same time, Texas is hot, man. Wearing thick socks in Texas heat and on that boot, like, it's too hot to be out in that.
I mean, that's fair. I'm not gonna lie to you. My feet definitely sweat and are stinky. I'm not gonna deny my stinky, sweaty feet. But the reason why I mainly wear my boots is like I said, because it does give me that extra height. But also, dude, I ride my motorcycle everywhere, and my boots are my motorcycle shoes pretty much. So
Yeah, see, I have like sporty booties whenever where
yeah,
I
it'd
ride
be
my
hard to use
motorcycle.
boots on a sports bike 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Also, I like my jeans and like pants to like taper towards the ankle, and you can't do that with a boot and with extra socks on there. That's just too much down there at the bottom when it tapers off.
First, it's hard to make a good boot. A good boot, rare, rare.
Well, what makes a
Any-
good boot? Because I like my boots. I
I
think my
don't
boots
know.
are good
You just
boots.
know it when you see it. I just don't know how to explain it.
It's like a unicorn, like you just see it.
It's like not too much shoe, not
Says the
too much
Atlantean.
sole. It's almost form fitted, but not form fitted. I mean, there's dress boots and there's work boots, obviously, but
That's fair.
for example, I cannot explain to you why a Timberland boot to me is beautiful, but the Timberland boot, the way the tongue just at the top, the lace, like the height of the boot, what it does when the jeans lay on the boot, that's a hell of a boot, my boy.
Do they have steel toes? The Timberlands? I've never worn a pair, so I have no idea
I have no idea if they do. They're the most useless work brand on the
Okay.
market.
I would argue if they do have them, it's probably one of the most expensive versions because adding steel toe to a
100%.
boot definitely adds that extra price to it.
I do like the khaki color that they usually come in.
That's
That
the
is nice
wheats, the
khaki.
butters.
I agree.
That's the butters.
Yeah.
Every closet needs a pair of butters. I'm trying to tell you, it's very important.
All right, let's get back to the video. So at the podium, they scroll down to the next picture, Ian, of him, I think, walking. Oh, not that one right there, the 1, 2, 3 picture.
Oh, wait, hold
Yeah.
on.
See, it's showing these little points right there. You got one where it's crunching on his ankle, which I don't think proves anything. Then 2, I guess, showing the position of his heel. It looks, I guess, a little too wide. And then his
Those are
foot.
cowboy boots.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
those are cowboy boots.
Yeah, like that. Like these are all cowboy boots because he's a. I was about to say he might be. Are Florida's known for their cowboy boots? I know Texans are, but does he have some kind of Texas lineage? Maybe I don't remember. I haven't looked too much into DeSantis, to be honest.
Jeb Bush is as close as they get to Texas and Florida.
I guess so. I guess the only thing that's egregious to me is the 3 and 4 because it looks like the end of his foot is right there at 4, and that's nothing but empty space in 3. If anything, you could argue he's
Talking
wearing
about
a
like
boot.
his shin, you can see where the boot stops in his pant leg. So I'm watching the live stream. I don't know where we are on the.
Oh, we're looking at the still picture. It's marking like his like a 1, 2, 3, 4. It's marking the top of his boot. Then it's marking the heel. Then it's marking the sole and the toe.
Egregious part is the top of the boot sticking out of the pant leg while he's standing up.
Well, in that particular picture, Ian, scroll down. I think that's what he's talking about in the jeans. In that particular picture, even in the jeans and the dress pants that we saw earlier, that's honestly, I don't think that's indicative of it being a high heel boot. I think that's just him wearing wrong pants with boots. Those are probably skinny
100%.
jeans. Well, not skinny jeans, but I mean like
Straight cut.
Thank you, straight cut. Those are probably straight cut jeans.
That's not boot cut, yeah.
Ian, scroll up.
Well, it doesn't have to be straight boot cut. Like if you're wearing straight cut jeans,
Definitely
they need
not
to be
straight.
boot cut because they're gonna code like that. Otherwise, you have to be wearing relaxed fit. Otherwise, that's the issue with wearing straight cut jeans.
One more
with boots.
picture, Ian. Scroll up one more. There. You see the boot sticking out of his fucking pant leg?
That's because it's a boot. I don't think that's anything besides the fact that it's a boot.
That's because he's wearing a high fucking, I don't know what you want to call it, a tall boot.
Yeah.
In dress pants. If that's the case, the boots might as well thin out as they go up. They weren't meant to be worn under pants, in my opinion. The boot was meant to meet the pant.
Well, it's also the fact that dress pants, they usually, like Doc said, they taper towards the bottom. That's how dress pants usually come. So dress boots aren't usually supposed to be worn with dress pants unless you get your dress pants tailored to where it's a wider.
I wonder if he got tailored these pants and then was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put the boot on, and that's why it's happening. Or if he actually took it to the tailor and was like, hey, I'm gonna wear boots with these. Like, fix him up.
He did a terrible job then, and if anything, that gives credence to the theory that he's wearing high heel boots.
I don't think he told anybody, and I do think he's wearing boots that make him look taller. I don't think like it's lost on him that his boots are making him taller. But I also do think he could have wore other shoes. So it's a point. If his height was the only problem, he could have wore Chelsea boots. There's a lot of dress shoes that are platform that can get him what he's looking for. So in my opinion, the main priority for him was wearing a cowboy boot.
Well, here's the egregious one, and I think let's get our opinions going crazy.
I think this being a topic is crazy though, as far as like
the political
LGBT,
Oh, it's funny to me. I completely agree with you. I don't know why people are really trying to attack Ron DeSantis over high heel boots. Like, is this really a thing? And
it's because he's a public figure, man, and he's one side of people hate him, and yeah, they're just going at him to target.
I just think it's funny. That's why we're addressing this. Like, we're actually talking about Ron DeSantis, a political figure, whether or not he's wearing high heel boots. I just think it's funny.
I think it's crazy.
Here, scroll down, Ian, to the video. The video, I think, is where it starts, where it's kind of like, damn, it's hard for me to defend this.
So are they attacking his? Are they attacking his sexuality by wearing the boots, or are they attacking
It's his insecurity of his height, I think.
I
it
think
just
some
about his
people have.
height?
I think some people have made the dumb comparison, maybe, but it's mainly just about his height and the insecurity in the height, and like why lie about your height kind
Oh,
of
so
stuff.
we're short shaming. How tall is he?
Be pretty much.
John just called us all out right now.
Yeah, we're short shaming. That's what we're doing.
That's exactly, which is kind of funny. So real quick, watch the video because I think the video is kind of like egregious to like whether or not these are high heel boots. Watch them strut. That's not how you walk in shoes or even boots, in my opinion. That's really.
Well, you can tell by the way I use my walk. I'm a woman's
Yeah,
man.
Ian?
No time to talk. Music.
Copyright issues. We don't have access to that song. We cannot play it.
Can tell by the way you. I'm sorry.
You
You
can
can
sing
sing
it.
it.
Yeah, you can
I
sing
know.
it. We just
I
can't
don't
play
know
it.
all the lyrics. I think
Damn.
the fact that we're having to sit here and zoom in on this nigga's shoe right
It is kind of weird, man. He's
It is.
now, this
he's
is
missing a
crazy.
few inches in the front, bro. I'm just.
That's why I started with this topic because I
Yeah.
couldn't see us talking more than like maybe 15 minutes about
What
this.
if we find out he's like an alien? Like, you know, this is it. Like he's actually
Because
got,
he's
like, a
wearing
weird
high
foot,
heel
like
boots? Nah, I'm not going
dude,
this
he's
far.
got like a
I'm not going
prawn
this
foot
far.
or something, man. Like he's got like 3
I think
digits.
his boots are too big.
Dude, maybe his foot looks like a Ninja Turtle hand. You know what I mean? And we just figured it out.
I just keep imagining like a bunch of kids in a trench coat trying to get into a movie theater.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think his feet are deformed because his feet are deformed, then he'd have a special shoe instead of a boot. And I feel like that's something he could use to his advantage when it comes to the campaign. Like, I'm disabled to a degree, and look at them making fun of someone who's disabled. Ah, finger point, finger point.
Look
Like,
at my foot. Vote for me.
yeah.
Anything at this
But
point. man.
seriously though, like I like Ron DeSantis as the Florida governor, but at the end of the day, he's a politician, and I think politicians will use whatever they need to use to advance their political career. And I think I would have put it above him to use his, if assuming he had a disability, use his disability to his advantage, 100%.
I don't think he's trying to strut like that. I guess the headline for this says, "Why is he trying to strut in his boots?" I think he's just wearing boots that probably aren't sized for him properly.
Well, I think I don't think they're trying to say he's actually trying to like strut. I think they're just pointing out that the swag, the walk, the stride in the walk is awkward because it's not normal. Like
Why did he use
it
the
looks
word
like he's
strut?
yeah, that's fair. I mean, they're probably talking shit. Like you said earlier, John. Like they're probably trying to insinuate he might be questioning his sexuality. Like that's probably what's going on. Like it's probably a gay jab at the end of the day.
So who's now? See, let me shut up.
This is what we're here for, bro. Say it.
I like how it's a gator, a clown, and then a thumbs up. Those emojis say a lot.
So when gay people call other people gay, is it okay? Is that not assuming somebody's sexuality?
Is it wrong to
Yeah,
assume
that's
someone's sexuality or assume someone's gender? I thought it was wrong to assume their gender.
I guess, but
I don't know.
pretty
I
sure-
generally can't keep up with
I
what's
think-
so like.
I think when it comes down to that stuff, it's just like it boils down to the pure essence of an insult, where it's just like calling you something you're not, just to mess with you, like just to irritate you.
if there's a couple of women, one identifies as a man, that's technically a straight couple. Is it not? So if I go to them and I say, "Hey, are you guys lesbians?" The gender is assumed inside the sexuality. So if I call somebody gay, it assumes that it is two men indulging.
Yeah.
So to assume somebody's sexuality damn near is
Have
assuming their
to.
gender. So I feel like they're bullying him.
Oh, 100%. This is 100% bullying in all regards.
I do agree with that.
And it's funny in this anti-cancel or this cancel culture and this let's not be offensive and victim stuff. It's like, why are we doing this?
We're definitely in a fight fire with fire age, but it's funny because nobody knows where the fire started.
Yeah.
Everybody's just like
I agree and
Everybody's
don't
just
agree
using-
with that. I just don't know how. Like, I hear it's like I don't know, but I don't know how I disagree with it because
Because I think you disagree with it because it's like who really incensed you enough for you to say you're fighting fire with fire? I guess you don't believe in the first fire being enough to equate this response, which I technically agree with, but that's why I said there's a whole bunch of people fighting fire with fire, but don't know who really started it. So it's like at any given opportunity for anybody to use any tactic they deem that the other side would have used, the pettiness is overplaying it. So like if you believe conservatives hate gay people, then the first thing you're gonna do is call conservative people gay.
which is was it hypocritical or contradictory or both?
I think you just want more people on your team. Think you're lonely.
I think it all boils down to the core of pettiness, where it's just
I think
like
so.
either side are just throwing things at each other out of pettiness because they're tired of being bullied or for whatever reasons they're tired of whatever issues the other side's throwing at them.
Everybody wants to catch each other slipping, so to speak, or call each other a hypocrite. So he's
But
a
I do
gay.
think that it's like most people that are just critical in general because at the end of the day, like if a gay person calls a straight person gay, and then that's hypocritical when the gay person calling the gay person gay, it's like it's to me it's kind of the same thing. But then there's the argument that like, oh well, there's so many years of hatred towards that comes from the straight person calling the gay person gay, and then at that point it becomes like a victimization issue, and I think that's where like people start to take it from like a
There's a lot of
into a
parallels
weird
with the
route.
N word.
Yeah.
There's a lot of parallels with the N word, and I guess associating calling people gay. But I don't know, dude. I just maybe it's just my people have used the word gay to describe things that aren't good in general. Or that's gay, like lame. I guess that's the way they would use it. But I don't know. I feel like the N word is literally an insult in the word itself versus gay is an insult based on how you take it, if that makes sense. Because like it's still used to describe things in a general sense. Not things, but people in a general sense. Like the the most common used word to describe somebody who's homosexual would be gay.
Or the F word, which I'm pretty sure
No,
we
but I'm
can't
talking
say
about
on YouTube.
in general conversation.
That's
Like
fair.
the most commonly used word would be gay. So like confusion. I'm trying to parallel it with the N word, but then you don't. And black people normally use the N word in conversation casually, but that's not normally how the general public would describe a black person versus the general public would normally describe a homosexual person as gay.
I feel like they have two different inceptions though. Like the N-word was clearly born out of like, anger, repression, and like demeaningness. Um, it's got a dark like, inception. Whereas gay, I kind of don't even understand how that became a word because it
Me
originally
neither.
is used for happy. It's supposed to mean
Correct.
like just joy. And I don't know how that became attributed to gay, and then eventually from there, got flipped into what it became a negative, and then now it's like unflipped. But I just think it's the weirdest route to take gay and then put it on, people that are homosexual.
Even the other word, a bundle of no, actually, I just finally understood a bundle of sticks. Never mind.
Yeah, that one's I feel is closer in
Finally
parallel to the
understood
N
it.
word.
Finally understood it.
Yeah.
Finally understood what a bundle of sticks meant. Okay, that one's a little bit. I don't want to give any praise, but gay. To your point, the inception was different. So then my question is, should we? How do we get around? How do we get to communicating?
I think that's the overall issue outside of this particular topic is we struggle to communicate because a lot of people are making certain words, banning certain words or tabooing certain words, and it's hard to be effective communicators when you're unable to use certain words, even certain phrasing. I think that's the biggest issue right there. It's not just simply, the gay or N word. It's just people are so sensitive nowadays that even if you don't use said word and you just try to use a different word, it's the sentiment you're describing and your feelings are now hurt. And now it's like, I can't communicate with you. I'm triggered or I'm victimized. I just think it comes down to people are too sensitive about words. It's a freaking word.
I'll give them one thing about the word though. Whoever made the N word was racist, right? Whoever made the word gay what it is was just a pure hater. Cause his literal reaction was, "Man, them niggas too happy over there." Like, if the word
That's
was
what I'm saying.
happy,
It's a
right?
weird inception. Like,
It's a weird way to disrespect somebody. Too happy, overjoyous. His overjoyous ass. That's a hating ass nigga. Whoever like, that's a hating ass. Whoever came up with this shit is a hater, 100%. That's all I got about his boots.
Yeah, I guess last take to go back to the boots. Do you guys think he's wearing high heel boots? Do you think he's not?
Yes.
Or do you think it's something else?
I don't think he's wearing the average heeled sized boots. But I also think there's nothing wrong with him wearing high heeled boots. Like,
Who cares?
fucking cares? Like, he has a fucking stylist team that picks out his suits. We want you to look taller on camera. We want you to wear. He's wearing. So we're gonna skip the fact that he's wearing makeup on camera. Like, we're talking about boots. Nigga got full face of makeup on. Most of the men on TV have makeup on. So like, I feel like it's a mute point.
I think his boot, the front should get closed up. Like, I don't know if he's got like, somebody who works on his boots or if he's got small feet or anything like that. But just looking at this one picture, I'm like, his toe can't be touching or be like an inch away from the end. Like, it's got to be like at least 2.5 inches or something.
I agree. Because look at the bend when he's stepping.
Yeah,
That's a lot of
exactly.
shoe on that ground. That's not filled in.
Yeah, I don't care if he's wearing boots. I just think his boots aren't properly sized. He's probably fix that up a bit.
Yeah, it's his intentions behind it. He's wearing oversized boots and wearing a heel inside of it, or he's wearing a boot that actually does have a heel in it that's hidden, or he's just has more comfort wearing oversized boots for some reason. Like, who knows? Who cares?
It don't hurt your corns.
If anything, my only take here is if Ron DeSantis wearing high heels boots make you like him more, like him less, or whatever, that you're weird. You are weird.
What I think is funny is that something like this could become a conspiracy on the internet.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. This is why when I was looking up topics,
we live
I
in
thought
a
this was
crazy
funny.
age, man. When something like this could become a conspiracy. At this point, anything could become a conspiracy. Like,
I think it's a distraction. Yeah, 100%. It's just wild that this is a thing that people are getting bent up out of shape about, whether or not Ron DeSantis is wearing high heel boots. Like, y'all need to get some, like, find a hobby.
Y'all need to get some pussy.
Something. I mean, talking about gay, get some,
He said, get
attention.
something.
Get something.
Let's just move to the next topic.
Yeah, let's move to the next topic. This one's gonna be funny. I think this one we're gonna have fun talking about this one because this one was hilarious. So, men overran a job fair for women in tech. So the Grace Hopper celebration is meant to unite women in tech. This year, droves of men came looking for jobs. It was meant to be a week for women in tech, but this year's Grace Hopper celebration was swamped by men who gate crashed the event in search of lucrative tech jobs. The annual conference and career fair aimed at women and non-binary tech workers, which takes its name from a pioneering computer scientist, took place last week in Orlando, Florida. This is a few weeks back. So.
it's all Florida. That's the whole theme
Right?
for today's episode.
Yeah. The event bills itself as the largest gathering of women in tech worldwide and has sought to unite women in tech industry for nearly 30 years. Sponsors include Apple, Amazon, and Bloomberg, and its major networking opportunity for aspiring tech workers. In-person admission costs between $650 and around $1,300. Wow. Is this for like people to go to it to find a job? Like that's how much they pay to go potentially get a job?
it's a fair, I guess, or like a what's the word I'm looking for? Like a not mixer, but
That's
damn, I can't think
wild.
of the word for it. But yeah, it's just a networking opportunity
I
convention
better
or
I better
conference.
come out with a guaranteed job offer at least or something. That's wild. Okay, this year droves of men showed up with resumes in hand. Anita B. Gorg, the nonprofit that runs the conference, said there was an increase in participation of self-identifying males as this year's event. The nonprofit says it believes allyship from men is important and noted it cannot ban men from attending due to federal non-discrimination protections in the United States. Organizers expressed frustration. Past iterations of the conference have always felt safe and loving and embracing, said Bo Young Lee, president of advisory of at AnitaB.org in a LinkedIn post. And this year, I must admit, I didn't feel this way. Just because men were there? I need to hear more from them because that's a little bit of a wild statement.
Okay, I will go ahead, because it's not fair. But I go ahead.
Cullen White, AnitaB.org chief impact officer, said in a video posted to X, formerly Twitter, that some registrants had lied about their gender identity when signing up, and men were now taking up space and time with recruiters that should go to women. All of those are limited resources to which you have no right, White said. AnitaB.org did not respond to requests for comment. Tech jobs, once a fairly safe and lucrative bet, have become more elusive. In 2022 and 23, Tech companies around the world laid off more than 400,000 workers, according to layoffs.fyi, a site that tracks job losses across the industry. Tens of thousands of those cuts have come from huge employers like Meta and Amazon, and some firms have instituted hiring freezes. The layoffs have been particularly brutal for immigrant workers who have been left scrambling for sponsorship in the U.S. after losing work. The controversy at the Grace Hopper celebration shows the fallout of these job losses as women and non-binary peoples will struggle to find equal footing in an industry dominated by men. Women made up just a third of those working in STEM jobs as of 2021, according to the U.S. National Center of Science and Engineering stats. As job cuts bite, all prospective tech workers have become more desperate for opportunities. During the conference, videos posted to TikTok showed a sea of men waiting in line to enter the conference or speak with recruiters in the expo hall. Men and women are seen running into the expo as the staffers yells for them to slow down. No, I think we're good. I don't think I need to finish it. We get that. We get the idea. What are you gonna say, John?
I'm gonna say, to be honest with you, it is a little bit unfair because I feel like people take the battles to the people. Like the if this was a job fair that was exclusively for the LGBT community, and then men came and overran it and self-identified as whatever was convenient for them to make it in, then okay. But them going to a women in tech fair, unless I misheard anything, you're on the wrong audience. Like, who says these are women agree with any of the other stances that you may disagree with? Like, I feel like people are constantly taking the battle to wherever it's convenient instead of taking the battle to those people who actually oppose their frame of thinking.
It's also kind of a weird issue though, because there really aren't a lot of girls in STEM. Like I've met one girl in a tech city who worked in STEM, and she was telling me about her experience, and essentially they look to her to like bring in more women into the team. Like I remember, you know, how sometimes you get like referral
But that's
bonuses. Like if you
weird
hire
too, though.
somebody, like if you hire somebody, you get like I don't know, if they get hired, you get like $400 or something like that. Well, for her, I remember she told me that like her company, if it was a woman that gets hired, your referral bonus would be like $800 to like $900. If it was a man, it was like $400.
See, that's weird. Like I understand John's point. I get it that this was dedicated to help branch like an olive branch, reaching a hand out saying, "Hey, we want more women in this field. We're going to have a special thing for women. Come women." And then men kind of overran it. I get the issue there, but what I don't like is this whole DEI stuff, this diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff. Like, why are we like I just personally think that's weird. It should I don't understand why we've strayed away so far away from this whole merit idea. I don't care if you're good at the job. I just want you to be a woman. I don't care if you're good at your job. I just want you to be a black man or a black woman. I don't care if you're good at your job. I just want you to suck dick. Like, I
That took a sharp turn. That was not what I expected. I just, well,
I don't get it. Like,
Said, I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I just want you to what?
oh man. But
I was trying to be dramatic with the gay stuff. I probably should have just said gay instead of the sucking dick thing. I was trying to be funny. Probably terrible job at it. My whole point,
No,
though,
it was funny. It was funny. It was definitely funny.
because I think what we're forgetting to understand is more men on average go into the tech field, less women on average don't. There's a reason why. There's a reason why there are more men in tech compared to women, because men tend to be more interested in tech than women. So there will always be a disparity from men to women. I understand that we need to help make it, I don't know if the word is easier, but at least like constantly make sure it's accepting and open for women and comfortable, because obviously as we've talked about other stories before, when it comes to nerdy guys can be freaking pervert.
well, that's okay. So
the
that's
Blizzard,
the other thing.
like the Blizzard fiasco.
That's the other thing too, because I remember she told me that like her exit exams from university, because she was in STEM and graduating with like a majority of men, that like part of the classes for the men was basically how to interact with women. And so they had to like teach them, because when they go into the field, like there's so few women in the field that like they might not interact with them properly, and it's like a serious issue apparently. And the other thing I'm thinking though is that like the company probably sets it up like that, knowing that they're not going to get too many women. Like I'm pretty sure if they got tons of women, they'd be like, whoa, we can't be paying out $800 per person like for this. Like I'm pretty sure they would stop it. So I'm thinking it's so rare that like they're actually creating that incentive just to be like, screw it, like just strive to it. I do get the idea that it's like it's more beneficial for them, and trust me, as a guy in tech, like I do also I'm kind of upset about it too, because it's just like, yeah, like what is it, like 40,000 people just got laid off within the past 2 years, and most of them were probably men. And so like it is difficult dealing with the fact that they might have priority in the situation just because they're a minority. But I don't.
Exactly that you just addressed it right there. That's probably I don't like. I know John. He probably wasn't insinuating malicious intent, but I'm assuming some people assume malicious intent. Like all these guys stormed this women's tech convention because bad intentions. It might be the simple fact that because men dominate the tech industry, and since the tech industry has taken a heavy hit when it comes to layoffs and job freezes, men are desperate for jobs. So when it comes to the special event for potentially getting a job, screw it's women only. I'm going anyway because I'm going to compete, because at the end of the day, the job market is nothing but a giant competition.
I would say that you sincerely believe any vendor at a tech fair for a woman would take a male applicant seriously. Because
Yeah, I don't think that would happen either.
just at the point of entry, you've already decided that you do not respect the event. Now, whether malicious or not, like
It says a lot about your character to a degree.
yeah, and it's not for
It's a wrap.
you. Like they came there looking for something. That's what they should be allowed to look for. Now, as far as inclusivity and all that shit, I don't believe all that shit should be forced. I'm right there with you on that. But like the same way it shouldn't be forced. It's the same way you can't, like, if you're a man, like, dude, you might have to just sit this one out. Like
I think what they should have
in
done is
Georgia,
they
you
should
can
have
hire.
actually like not protested, but just like done an awareness thing where
Mhm.
like not actually, because John's right. Like if you actually gave your resume to one of these like women's that were recruiters, she's not going to take you seriously. She's going to see you as a troll and be like, "Oh man, you paid $6.95 to come troll me? Like what the heck?" So I think they should have just stood outside and just shown like, hey, there's an issue, a very serious issue of male disparity in this sector of industry. So yes, while women are, in this very safe zone and able to, climb themselves up and push themselves up, like there's also a relevance of men that need help for once in this situation that's like terrible for them, because otherwise, like, they're just gonna have to go into different industries and stuff like that. And like, you can't just, like, if a man was to say to a woman, "Well, go into a different industry, like go be a nurse, like you should be," you know what I mean? It's just like that, dude. You would get canceled, or you would go into so much trouble for that situation. But that the same can't be said to a man who's already in an industry that normally men would go into, and is kind of looking for help. Like, to tell him to go into a different industry, it's the same thing in my opinion. If the opposite was said,
Yeah, like the
You
sense of
can't
it,
always equate somebody else's help with your problem.
that's fair
Like,
too.
go ahead, Gene.
No, that was a fair point. I was just going to point out that I can understand the frustration if this is the frustration those guys are having going to that women's conference, which is they just want to hire a woman even though they're probably not qualified. That in their mind is unfair. I'm not saying they may be qualified. I generally don't know. But the odds of you finding a qualified woman in the tech industry is a lot harder compared to finding a qualified man, just simply because there's more men in tech than women. So if the goal from an employer is to find someone qualified, that's it, someone qualified, then arguably it probably was a good move it's a huge gamble, and I don't know if it was successful or not for some of these guys, but it's a gamble to go and say, I'm qualified, this is my resume. These girls who either have little to no experience, like, why would you take that risk when I have a list right here in my resume of my qualifications that will immediately show a turnover for you?
So I'm
And I
saying
think
they're simplifying it to, but those men in the hypothetical are simplifying it to me versus their chosen female of, for a position. One, a company is always going to, it doesn't care about anything other than its shareholders. So if a company is big enough, they don't care who they're hiring as long as the job gets done properly and efficiently. That being said,
I
who's to
disagree.
say that their bottom line, they're going to protect their bottom line. Like, they're not going to run the business into the ground by just trying to hire a whole bunch of women.
Look at
Chances are most of these companies already have a lot of men on staff, and they're trying to fill a couple of positions with women. Now, if you look at it, I'm just saying this is all hypothetical. If you look at it from that point of view, who's to say that any of those men are more qualified than the cream of the crop of the women? Because there are going to be women who
That's
leave
fair.
that fair without jobs as well.
That's fair.
So
That's true.
there's an assumption that you're already the cream of the crop. You're asking for an opportunity, but there's other jobs listed. These aren't the only jobs at this fair that are available for this field. So when this group puts together a women in tech job fair, it should only be women in tech there, because there are yes, I understand there are no men in tech job fairs. I also understand that. But go to those fairs. Just go what you have access to. In Georgia, you can be fired or whatever for any reason. I can kick you out my business and not service you for any reason that I deem I want to.
But
The
that's
same should
actually,
be with a
but
job.
I think that's also an issue though. Is if you're going to have a women in tech thing, you need to have a men in tech thing, because my assumption here
It's
is the
not their
women in
job
tech.
to make it fair. That's what I'm
I
saying. We keep equating other people's help to our problems. It's not those same companies' job to make it
No,
fair.
it's not
That's
their
what they
job.
looking for right now.
But my
Back
point
in the
is,
day,
it's
they was
all
looking for black
hypocrisy, it's
people.
all contradictions, and it's all fake, because we're all about this whole point of being diverse, being all equal, and being inclusive. If you want to be DEI, if you have a women's only convention, have a men's only convention, but you don't. That's why it's bullshit, and that's why I don't have much of a problem with the men going, because
I
this
agree with
fair
you, but that's
allows
still
women out
wrong
of
because
college
you're
to
not.
go for a job, but don't have the same resources for men. That is an issue.
I agree with you there, but you're wrong because you're now not equating time into the factor. This is a moment in time where they're trying to have an influx of women. This period of time does not represent all time moving forward or all time going back. It will also have a trickle effect of women working in that field where they might inspire little girls or whatever it is. Their voice will touch other people, like door to door type shit. Eventually, it'll be a trickle down effect. If we've had sustained men in the field for a long time, chances are, unless there's an extreme change, men will still stay in the field that they're going to stay in.
We have
So
an example.
the whole purpose of the women in tech is to incentivize, to show you that
Fair.
there's a reward for pursuing this path. Men have been, I'm not saying equal or unequal, they've been rewarded. We don't need to be incentivized. What we're talking about is extra help. So if that's the case, it's not on those companies to make it fair. The same way we can't say it's on Netflix to make it fair for the LGBT and this company's doing these restrooms and all this bullshit. It's not their job to do that. It's the same way. It's like, okay, right now we're focusing on women. 10 years from now, we may be short men, then we got to do it for men. But right now, they are identifying that they want women in the field. So for this time period, you just gotta let them rock. Like, I don't
Sure.
agree with it. Like, I
That's
don't agree
fine.
with men not having their own or I guess being discarded, if you will. But at the end of the day, I'm a man, so I have to be objective about it. Yes, it's unfair, but it's not as unfair as most men would make it seem.
That's
Like it's a
sure.
job fair. It's one job fair.
Sure. Uh, Sure, I 100% agree with you. That makes sense to me. My only issue is the hypocrisy of it all. That's my issue. I agree with you completely that if it's a fair for women, it's a fair for women. Men going there to try to get one up is stupid. And why you're doing that? Like Doc said, it actually reveals more of your intentions, and like you're probably unlikely to even be successful. I agree with everything you said. My only issue is just the hypocrisy of it all. The whole point of the fair is, as Ethan even said, it's about optics. They don't really care about hiring women. It's all about optics. I think the odds of them even hiring women at the from the fair are extremely low.
So
I
then what do
don't,
we care for? That's my whole question is, even
because
if it's optics,
it's
these companies are
to me
allowed to
it's
spend what
fake.
they want.
I can't stand fakeness. That's my thing at the end of the day. We're sacrificing not some what's a different approach. Let me just use the example I wanted to use beforehand before I lose a thought. Twitter, for example. Twitter was bloated. They didn't need the amount of workers, employees that they had before Elon Musk. They were losing money. They were hemorrhaging money. They weren't making a profit. It was amazing that Twitter was even able to stay afloat to the degree that they were. When Elon Musk took over, he fired what 80% of the staff, pretty much. I think is what he said. The majority of the staff that stayed were mainly men. And this may be an inappropriate inflation of my point from that small example, but in tech specifically, and first before I get to that, in all jobs, there's always, let's say there's 10 employees. Of those 10 employees, there's always that one employee, maybe two, that are doing the work of all 10. The other 8 or 9 are just filling space. I'm sure Doc can even test this to some of the work he's had to do when he had to coach certain people in the job or train people he had to do, and he would tell me stories. Like some people are just filling space. In the tech industry as a whole, they are making so much money that they were allowed to bleed money to this DEI nonsense. Now we've gotten to a point where tech, they're no longer making buku amount of money that they're actually having to lay off people. Like this article mentioned, Amazon, TikTok, Twitter, Apple, they had to lay off so many people because it's gotten so bad, because they stopped producing a product that was actually digestible and cared more about the optics and how people viewed the product. The product sucks, but guess what? We're an ally. The product sucks. Well, guess what? We got 50 men and 50% women. Like it's equal. Like,
To the product.
what'd you say?
What happened to the product? Did the consumers to keep consuming the product at the same rate?
I can't.
No, not really. So like what ended
No,
up happening is like once the pandemic ended, people stopped being on the internet as much as they used to be. A lot of companies overhired thinking that was the new norm, but then all those companies realized like humans want to be humans and go outside. And then once we could, they were like, "Oh crap, we have too many people." And then it was like a weird domino effect. It was like that, and so immediately a bunch of people stopped using these applications that they were preparing to have like mass onboardings for, and then at the same time, Musk bought a Twitter and fired like 80% of the staff. He kind of actually overdid it because that's why Twitter had a bunch of bugs for a while and had a bunch of issues and stuff like that because he fired too many people, and even he himself has come out and said he overdid it. But he's gotten it stable back again. It's just that when he did that, all the other capitalist venture investors for all the other tech companies were like, how come he can run his company with 30% staff? And then every other company was just like, oh, we can do it too. And then they just started hacking people. And because he took all of the aggro from the initial firings, every other company just started dominoing and doing the exact same thing because they were all scared for a while to do it because they were like, well, we don't want to look like that in front of the public, and Elon didn't care. So it just all cascaded down. I do agree with Gene to an extent because like I said, I've been in the tech industry and I've straight up gotten surveys that ask about diversity quotas or diversity what's the word? I remember I saw something. I've said it before on the podcast, but it grossed me out when I saw it. The diversity quotient or something like that, or yeah, I remember it was like I think it was diversity quota. I remember reading on the survey like, does your boss treat you well? Do you like your job? Does our company hit the diversity quota? And I was like, what's the quota? I don't even know. Like, are we short like another Mexican? Like, what the heck? Like, I seriously, I remember I showed it to my boss. My boss was just like, dude, it's on the form. Like, just whatever. It was really, really weird. So I do agree that to some extent it is optics, because they honestly like the cancelers don't want to look like they can be canceled, and to some extent, I think now we're living in a world where it's less likely because I mean you kind of don't have so much of that vibe or energy coming in on these tech companies anymore. Um, but like during 2020 2021 like they were almost all entirely left, and so they didn't really want to look like they were going to get canceled or were against the cancel culture or going against the grain in any way. So I can definitely see it being a lot for optics. I think it falls somewhere in the middle. Like I do agree with John that this is one job fair and this is probably the biggest one that made the splash because it's just it was trolled so hard.
How do you know those companies are I don't even know the companies that are at this job fair specifically is what I'm saying. Like, how do I know these companies are perpetuating what we all agree is going on? But I'm saying like just because this is the topic, I can't be mad. Yeah, I get even if it's the aesthetic of it, it doesn't matter because if the aesthetic affects the product and the product starts to suck, the consumer will go elsewhere. So at the end of the day, they're just biting themselves in the tail. And then on top
100%.
of that, like Gene said, he doesn't even think they're hiring most of the women. They're just giving them a chance. They want it to look good. So then if they're not hiring the women, the men that shouldn't even be at the fair because ain't no jobs there. So
It's like,
like at the end of the day, there's really no reason to be mad about a woman in tech fair.
well, I'm not
That's
mad about the
all
woman
I'm
in
saying.
tech fair. If I am, I'll acknowledge I am. I don't use the word mad, maybe upset or annoyed, simply because, like I said
Incensed.
before, incensed. Sure, it's simply because it's all fake. They don't really care to hire women. They don't really care to hire men. They don't care. They have this
They want
amount
to
of
hire
money.
robots.
They honestly probably if they could build robots and build a program to do their job for them, they would 100% do that instead. These people generally don't care. They have a certain amount of money a year, a quarter to a year that they have to spend. And if they have enough money left over, let's throw a women's only job fair so we look good to the public so we earn more DEI points. Let's do that. We don't even have to hire any women. We just have to do it
I
because we
feel
have
like
the
they
money
do it on
left
the
over to do
fly.
it.
Like I
But
genuinely
then
think they do it on the fly. Like they're like, oh shit, the product's going down. We need more profit. Hire some engineers. I don't care what they are. Here we go. Oh crap, we're in the news again for not having enough women. Throw a fair. Here we go. All women fair.
Exactly.
Oh, like I generally think it's
Exactly.
just happening on the fly.
That's why I think it's all fake, and that fakeness bothers
At
me. It
that
really
point,
does. Like it itches me so. Oh, just deep down, it bothers me.
okay, then we're just gonna have to find a limit. Like, what's marketing, and when does marketing go too far? Because at the end of the day, when you're doing all of that, you're just trying to market yourself to an audience. But
Okay,
then at the end
good,
of the day, it's
valid.
all fake. But then, like, if I'm selling pies and I shoot a commercial about my pies, I'm like, oh man, these the best pies in town. Oh, make pies make
But
you
that's
wanna.
fine.
Da, da,
That's
da, da, da.
fine. I think the line, if we had to draw a line, is when you. I'm gonna say unintentionally because I don't know if they're intentionally or intentionally doing this maliciously or blah blah blah. So I'm not gonna ascribe intent. So I'm gonna say unintentionally put the races or the sexes at each other's throats, and that is what it's doing. We're gonna give special privileges to women because we want more women in the field. You're putting the sexes because now the men. This is unfair. We're like whatever thing they want to say about I'm more qualified or I'm a man, whatever bullshit they want to tell themselves. They're telling themselves that because they went out to the fair and they showed up. They paid the money to show up, so they feel some type of way about it. Same thing with the diversity quota Doc was talking about. There's not enough Mexicans, not enough Black people or Indians, so let's hire them. Well, what about the white guys? Well, what about me? I'm qualified. Why can't I get the job? Like the line is when you put races and sexes against each other. I think that is a
I
very
agree.
easy line.
You beat the other white guys to the job, or why you ain't beat the other Indian guys to the job? Like the other gender or the other whatever it is that they're trying to include ain't your only competition, because there are people like you that look like you, your age, your beliefs, your whatever, that did get the job that you're looking for. You're just mad that you didn't.
I agree with that. That's why I think it's off. It's the opportunity to be outraged. There's an opportunity for women to be outraged that there's not enough opportunities for women in tech, even though like there's not that many women in tech in the first place. So the opportunities are going to be even more
Very limited.
difficult because you're competing against men who are on average going to be, I don't want to say better, but just because there's more men, you're more likely to find a better guy in the field because there's just more of them. That it's extremely competitive. So of course it's going to be difficult. And the men are incensed and outraged and upset because they're not getting the handouts that the women are getting, and it's unfair and unbalanced. That's why I think it's all stupid and it's fake. It's like an opportunity to be outraged. Both sides are doing it. The women are doing it, and the men are doing it. The women get their own convention. Rah rah rah. I'm gonna show up anyway. It's like, bro, really? Like,
Also, too, to your point, the tech field isn't a 200-year-old field.
that's true
And
too.
where like you could like really map out how men's influence has helped them be in higher places or reach further places in that field. The tech industry isn't but so old. So I would say, as far as like gender inequality in the not workplace, but as far as opportunity, I would say it was just probably not as incentivized for women to be in the tech field during those time periods versus them being frozen out of the tech field, because there's nothing to tech that would any normal person would insinuate makes somebody less or more qualified from birth to do.
I just think if to entertain this conversation before we close out, I just think it comes down to genuine what interests men and what interests women. And I think it comes down to what we tend biologically, what we tend to gear towards. Because men tend to be providers, protectors, we tend to go towards industries that facilitate that innate desire and need in us. We got people who want to build buildings, people oil riggers,
Also,
people who
we
want to
play
build,
video games.
create code or
That's
make
true too.
video games, stuff like that. Like guys go to that. And the versus women, they tend to be nurturers, they tend to be caretakers, so they go towards teaching, nursing, medical stuff, like
What's that?
social work. Like
What's that? It's what's it? Fuck, what's his name? Something Peterson.
Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson. Yeah, he said that line where it's just like men on average tend to gravitate towards things while women tend to gravitate towards people.
Yes, it's
And so
true.
like with jobs like this, like I mean tech's mostly things. Like there is marketing and there is stuff like that where it's mostly people, and don't get me wrong, especially in bigger tech companies. But for like software and everything like that, it's a lot of things. it's a lot of being that guy in a room typing on a computer. You know, the same way you play the video game, you're just that guy in the room just playing the video game. And so, like, until women start to openly more so accept that, I think that's kind of the biggest issue. Because I mean, for the longest time, especially even still within our generation, like it was still pretty nerdy for a guy to just be locked in a room playing video games by himself and stuff like that. And it's only recently, which I'm really jealous of with like younger generations, where it's just like, oh, like I'll hear my friend playing Fortnite and like a girl from his class will be, or like my nephew, not my friend. I'll hear my nephew playing Fortnite and a girl from his class will be in the party playing with them. And I'm like, dude, like that never would have happened when I was a kid. Like we were all
Never.
playing Halo, that never would have happened. And you can be sure if there was a girl, she'd be like the coolest girl. I mean, she probably would, you know, get hit on by a bunch of the dudes, and she probably didn't want that. But like with the guys that like were able to draw the line, she'd be the coolest girl ever.
But that's a but real quick. I want to make a distinction with that example. I think it's a good example, but I want to make a distinction, which is I think there's a difference between playing the game and creating the game. I still think
How
that
so?
I still think there's going to be that disparity in the tech industry between men and women because, on average, men will be the ones more likely to create and build and whatever games, whereas women are like I'm not saying they won't. It's just not something that genuinely aligns with, generally speaking, women's interests. So yeah, I'm sure the rise in women playing games is going up, which is cool. I agree with you. Like I'm sure the kids growing up playing games, it's dope being able to play your favorite game and the girl you like playing with you. That's dope. But in that dynamic, the guy is more likely to grow up wanting to be a developer than the girl would want to grow up to be a developer. That dynamic will never change. This whole like things and people and protector nurturing dynamic, it's never going to change. It's just the interactions because our culture is changing. In the younger culture now grew up on the internet more so than we did. They literally grew up playing games on their iPads, on their cell phones, Fortnite, all these. They grew up doing that, so therefore it's more socially acceptable for girls to play on those games because the guys aren't viewed as nerdy anymore. The jocks are playing Fortnite too. So therefore girls will congregate because girls are interested in people. They will congregate in the community environment where all the cool guys are. And all the cool guys are what? They're also playing games. That won't translate to girls wanting to also be in the industry of developing games. They're just being in the social setting. That's the only distinction I want to make. That doesn't mean because girls are getting involved, they're going to suddenly be more interested in developing games. No, that's not the case. They're just being part of the social dynamic that is games. That's why girls in the tech industry, they're streamers, they're influencers. They're not developers, they're influencers. And I don't want to go on a tangent about that, but that's where you see girls in tech generally navigating towards. It's being influencers, being e-girls, being streamers, being all this stuff, cosplayers. That's where they're navigating towards. They're not creating games, they're not developing games, they're not writing code. I'm sure some are, but the mass of them are men. And it remain that way. And it is what it is. I think that's my biggest issue is we're trying so hard to circumvent these, as some would call it, societal pressures or whatever, which they're not societal pressures, that we're actually creating societal pressures. I'll go back to the topic at hand. We're creating these women conventions because we want to put societal pressure on women to enter tech. Do they even want to enter tech? Some probably do. And then if they do, guess what? They will compete and they'll probably get in it because if they have that drive and that dream and that ambition, they'll get it. Because that's what it comes down to. Drive and ambition and work ethic. The girls that have it, they'll make it. The girls that are only in it because they see it as a very lucrative industry, they're not going to make it. Just like the men who share that same sentiment. It's just that men tend to have that drive, that commitment, and that work ethic because they actually want it in comparison to women. That's all it comes down to. That right there, drive, work ethic, and commitment. In that specific industry, men have it more because that's what they are interested in. Women don't because that's not what they're interested in.
Well,
that will never change.
It's more of like a haven to draw out the outlier women, the ones that are like the like you said, the few, like it's more of a haven for them to kind of come out and express themselves than just be like, oh crap, like I can't be a developer as a girl because I have to go be, I don't know, like somebody that deals with people in some way and stuff like that. But it's funny because like I do agree that yeah, that's more likely the averages, the law of average that's going to take over everything. And that's kind of the issue. And again, I feel like this unearths a bigger issue where you have a lot of men that have wasted a lot of time. Maybe not wasted. I feel like that's the wrong term. I'm sure a lot of those men feel like they wasted, but a lot of men have given a lot of time to an industry that's thrown them to the side. And so that needs to be addressed in its own way.
I think it's fair to say wasted because the industry itself is overinflated. Everyone is trying to get a tech job or some kind of degree or certificate or whatever in the tech industry because for the longest time, the tech industry was the fastest growing industry because there was so much money in it. Now it's gotten overinflated because everyone's trying to get in tech to where like it's filled. It's filled. Either you're waiting for one slot to open up and it's cutthroat to get that one slot, or you're trying to be intuitive. I forgot the word. You're trying to create something new. And that in itself is also hard because you're on an uphill battle with one being a brand new idea, two getting the finances to create the upstart, and then three finding the proper workers to keep the business afloat. Like the industry is, I don't say done, but it's plateaued, and that's honestly I think what we're struggling to come to terms with is the tech industry is plateauing, if not already plateaued.
Oh, it's definitely plateaued. I just think a lot of the issue too for the plateau is that like it was unnecessary. Like a lot of the offshoring of jobs, even like not even just like in the US, but like across the planet, like people have basically offshored all the jobs to the cheapest labor countries on the planet. And I don't know if
That's
that's
a
gonna
valid point. That's a
I don't
valid
know if
point.
that's a good idea in the long run. Like it's definitely the cheapest idea, but I don't know if that's gonna be the best idea in the long run.
I'm
Because
surprised that's not more outrageous too. Why are we out here screaming about there's not enough women in tech instead of our jobs are going overseas? There's
bro,
more
we can go back
Indians.
50 episodes and you
Yeah,
can hear
you
me
did.
talking about this.
Yeah, you did. I remember.
I remember always chiming on this because I remember seeing it and being like, why are we moving over there? Okay, cool. And I just think in the long run, like I hope most people know, like now when you interact with a major corporation, like you're speaking to somebody in a third world country who's just sending you emails that are just like if you have multiple interactions with that person, you can read the emails and they're all going to be exactly the same. And so I think that's going to be a core issue because it's like I was talking to my friend and he called somebody and they rerouted his phone call to somebody in a different country. And he was just like, I'm just looking for a mechanic in my city. Why might I be rerouted to a person in a different country? And like when that happens, like he just hung up. He didn't even like the person answered and he just knew immediately he had been rerouted and was just like, nope. And he just hung up. And I feel like once that money starts to go away, because people will get service that they would want within their own nation, within like an individual who's local, can understand them and work with them properly. I think once that money starts to really dwindle, that's when real problems are going to happen for them. Because it was the short term gain, the cheapest route, and in the long run, like they let go so many people for that. Like so many people had developed so many global mass communication skills and stuff like that, or even just like massive application skills and stuff, and all of that got moved over.
Yeah. I agree with that one. I think, yeah, like I said, I think that's the biggest issue out of all of this. I think it's dumb we're fighting over how many minorities and sexes we have in the industry and not the fact that all the jobs aren't going to Americans, they're going to non-Americans, which I think is more outrageous in my opinion, but I'm more nationalist than you guys maybe, I don't know, or
It's
the
just
average
because
person.
tech companies think on a global scale, and so they're just like, oh, that new country that just won its civil war, like, oh, maybe their workers are, they need some jobs. We need to send
Which
some money.
I don't like the outsourcing of jobs, but I will say I think the country is built off of a lot of shit that if we take out right now, we're just gonna
it
have
has
to.
to happen. I'm okay with it. If
That's all. If y'all
it
are
has to
okay with that,
happen.
that's okay. Cool. Then we're on the same page.
I'm okay with it.
I just know that most people aren't okay with that,
With
Fuck
okay
'em.
and
with
so
what?
like a reset.
Uh, uh, I
It's
mean,
growing pains. We're trying to be better. We're trying to fix things. We can't fix things while not getting rid of what's bad. So if we have to do something that's going to be detrimental, but in the long run actually beneficial, I'm okay with it. The problem is too many people are comfortable and they're not ready for a big change, a big hit. In my mind, fuck them. But I'm not everybody.
I'm trying to think of what the reset would be like.
I don't know either, but we need it.
Because I mean, nobody really wants to leave tech because tech is like modern or viewed as modern, and so
Modern and it's cool.
yeah, that's kind of it. It's modern and it's cool, and every country wants to be the leader in tech because they look like the most futuristic country on the planet, and it's just gonna look cool, like you said.
Yeah. All right. Any last thoughts before we
Um,
get to the comments?
I had a thought, but it left me, so it's probably not that important.
All right, interrupt me if it comes back to you. All right.
Yeah.
We got a lot. So Ethan said, "Welcome to Bidenomics." I don't know if that's an example of Bidenomics, but I don't necessarily disagree with you either. Riddle me this. When is it ever okay to cater exclusively to men in an industry? Oil rigs,
Strippers.
construction.
Strippers, male strippers.
I don't know about that one.
That's something I was actually wondering. What would be the opposite direction for like a men? Like, what is an industry where men
Teachers.
are super small and no,
Teachers.
I feel like really, I feel like a lot of teachers are guys.
Nope. All my teachers have
Teachers,
always
nurses, lobotomists.
The bottomless.
been lobotomists.
But yeah, is there like an industry where like
Teachers.
they need to have men meet together just
Okay,
to network?
Okay,
Just so
here.
that they
I got
can
a controversial.
stay?
Here. Okay,
It's
caveat.
literally
Okay.
nurses. It's literally nursing.
Well, I was going to say nursing and teachers, but nursing is an obvious one. But the reason why I say teachers, and to prove my point even more, or not prove my point, but because Doc said that he's seen some male teachers. True. And here's my controversial take. But were those straight male teachers?
Yeah, I've had plenty of straight male teachers.
Because I know a lot of some non-straight male teachers, and I would argue we need some straight male teachers out there more so we need the gay male teachers. But that's my hot take.
I think I've had more male teachers than I've had female teachers, man. I must
That's
have had a
wild,
different-
really?
Yeah, I think
I've had
so.
more female teachers. All my teachers, except for I think I can name off 3 on the top of my head.
So
One
here's
with-
here's the thing I would ask you though. I say the word teacher, you think of what gender?
Female.
I say the word professor, you think of what gender?
Female still.
Really?
I think a male.
Yeah, I think of a male too. I don't know why.
I don't
Maybe
know.
I'm misogynist or something.
Oh, I know why. Professor X.
Yeah, it's him. He's in there.
Most of my professors in college were also female. It was more balanced, I say, closer to like 50-50 in college than it was in like high school and middle school and elementary school. But it was mostly female teachers or professors, 100%.
I feel like for me, throughout like regular schooling, well, okay, younger schooling for sure was all females, and then as it went up to like middle school up to high school, it was like even, like the men caught up, and then once I hit, no, it was still a lot more males, but they finally came out of the woodwork, and then once I hit college, it was all male.
All right. It isn't as though women have never heard of tech. They know what it is and isn't interested in a career in large numbers. Yeah, I said the exact same thing. That's true. Ethan said it's about optics. Said the same thing. It's 100% true. Ethan said the issue is that it's not okay to discriminate unless it is being done against men and especially white men. I personally agree with that myself too.
It's only okay to punch up.
Yep. Figuratively punch up. But Miss Chrissy said if the
Gene.
You said what?
Nice catch. You had to throw figuratively in there because it would have taken away from the points.
Miss Chrissy, if the inverse were to happen to men, would it be as scrutinized as this is? Or would we say more power to the women? That's a valid point. Ethan said, Bud Light did it. Laugh out loud. The simple solution to hiring is leave gender out of resumes. 100%. I honestly don't see the need to know the gender. It's just for the whole quotas thing. They want to know for quotas. to say
Okay,
we have-
Brandon and maybe Ashley or Margaret Margaret might be a man.
I feel like
Yeah.
the names would be hard.
That's fair.
The names would just throw them away.
But now you're
It have
assuming
to be a
someone's
blind
gender.
application, and it have to be a blind application, and then that's still there's no way to hire without gender because you're gonna have to talk to me. You're gonna have to meet. We're gonna have to interview.
That's true. That's difficult. Honestly, that's facts. It's an what's the word? It's too idealistic.
Hmm.
The pilot program ran for a couple of years, and when they realized that there was no difference in promotion between men and women, it went away. Ethan said, commenting to Miss Chrissy, Miss Chrissy hit the nail on the head. Had this been the other way around, the villagers would have been gathering the pitchforks and lighting torches. I kind of agree with that. I think women would
I agree
also
with that.
showed up in mass at this, saying we should have one for women only. Why, man? We're going to show up anyway. I think the exact same thing would have happened. That's why
I think men would have showed up in support of the woman.
I agree with that too.
Yeah, probably.
Because of
Yeah.
simpy ass men. I agree with that too. Ethan said, when I retired and went to work in the civilian world, I was blown away by the amount of people that are willing to sit back and let everyone else do all the work. 100%. I've grown up with the mentality that I'd rather do it myself because I trust myself more. That's probably a more toxic mentality, but I've just always been more comfortable that way. I'd rather do it myself because I trust myself more than someone else. I've just always been that way. I can't trust someone else to do the work. I really can't. I struggle with that. Ethan said there are exceptions, but for the most part, guys do it for the competition, women do it for the attention. Are you talking specifically about the tech industry, or are you talking about games? I think he's talking about the gaming aspect. And if he's talking about gaming, I agree with that. Men do it because competition in games, 100%. Like the games make it fun. Every game is a competition. It's really fun. Women, I don't really care too much about the competition. They care about the attention that comes with being involved in the games.
Yeah, but I do agree with that, but I would not add like a good or bad to it. Because I mean, if we're holding true to the idea is that women are leaning towards people at that point in time, like they're just kind of giving into their nature on average, and that doesn't necessarily have to be good or bad. Like, I mean, some people.
Well, he's not saying it was. He didn't
No,
say it
I
was
get
good,
that.
but
I'm just kind of like throwing that
I
on
gotcha.
top of that, just
I
because
gotcha.
That's how
it
generally
can
feel.
sound like, oh, they just want attention, oh, they just want like
Well, if
money or something
anything,
like that. But I genuinely think it's just like that's just the natural avenue.
We
You know
all
what I
want
mean?
attention, though. It's just how we go about getting that attention.
100%.
A lot of men feel like success and money and maybe
That's true
muscles or
too.
whatever it is.
When I
That's
watch
why
a male streamer, he's usually like, okay, if I do this, if I go to the left, I'll go here and I'll do this, and this is the best way to do that. And it's like very methodical, broken down. And if I watch a female streamer often, she's usually like, hey, oh, I see what you did there, 7072, whatever. Yeah, that's funny. She interacts with the chat a lot more, whereas the guys like just breaking down the strats and stuff like that and the gameplay and everything.
And I think if we want to associate good or bad, it could go either way. It could be a good thing because women are now making gaming cool simply because of the fact that they're getting involved in games.